Okay, here we go. Okay, welcome. So back to Power Chats. Power Chats. It's a Monday today instead of Wednesday, our normal recording day. But
Shaking shit up.
that's what you got to do when you're working.
Mm.
Yeah, I'm actually getting to go work, which is awesome. So today on Power Chats, what are we going to talk about? Savannah wants to talk about goal setting, and I want to pick her brain on a few things, and she doesn't know what it is this time.
Shall we start there?
Yeah, let's start there. So, just before we started recording, we were talking about you thinking you had a little tiny head, and how it was affecting you. So tell me more about that. I want to hear about that. Why is it affecting you?
I just feel as though in my journey to self-love, things have been put to bed and other things have popped up. And in the last year, one of those things is how small my head is. I've never kind of realized that I have a very tiny head until recently, and now I can't not see it. It feels like in photos my head's stuck to a lollipop and it just stands out. So thanks for that.
You're welcome, Savannah. There you go. You got it off your chest.
Is this power chats or self-esteem chats? Because
So I have a few things there, actually. I'm going to do a little bit of coaching today, I think, maybe. I don't know. We'll have a little bit of fun. If you're watching the video, you should. Yeah, so on that, you mentioned a couple things there, and I think people will resonate with it. When you see something new, or you said something about, your journey and how some things, come up and you work through them, but then there's other things. I was just talking about this today on, I did a video and posted on Instagram kind of about this because I went for a run. Like this morning we were going to record earlier and then we slept in and, shit happened. But then it meant that I was like, oh, sweet, I'm going to use this time to go for a run. So I went for like a 5.5K run. I think maybe it was close to 5.5Ks. And I hit 2.9 and literally it was just like, what the fuck is going on with me today? And like, it was like really it was actually quite hard. Like I was like, and I actually stopped, which I don't normally stop. And I stopped, got emotional. And I was like, well, okay. Because I use my runs as like self-reflection time. So I use them, in my mind, anytime hit a hard point in your run, especially running, or even, say you do CrossFit or, you do anything where hit training, anything like that, you hit those hard times, there's something that's normally popping up that's wanting you to stop. And it normally has nothing to do with the fact that you can't breathe. That's just an excuse. It has something else that's going on in your head that's telling you that you should stop. If you dig deeper into it, there's normally something else. And mine, I realized today was that I've been squashing away a little bit, that I've been feeling like I'm kind of in a way failing my business that I started up. Because I'm going off and I'm doing security work and I'm having to do these different things that weren't on my plan. And we're talking about goals. We'll get into talking about goals, but it wasn't on my plan to go back to a day job. And so and instantly I went, okay, I get this. This is why I'm struggling so much today, because I was thinking about this and talking about it a little bit yesterday with some people at the hospital. And then I went on and I went, okay, why am I actually here running? I'm not here running because my day job is hard. I'm running because I want to be healthy. I want to actually work through this kind of stuff and I want to move forward. But if we go, and the reason I wanted to tell that story is because we all have these setbacks when we learn something new. And we constantly go along. And I remember, back when I first started running, I hated running. Even up until probably a couple of years ago, it was like I hated running. And he would say, do you run, even as a cop? And I would be like, only if somebody's chasing me or if I'm chasing someone. But yet I still would go out and go for a run every few weeks just to kind of clear myself up, or I do something, to kind of, because I knew that I had to for the police to be able to run
You should.
and chase people. But it's interesting because now when you focus on that why, but I've shown this example, which was quite interesting. It was this circle that continually, as long as it's continually going up on an axis, like on a diagonal line, but you're always going below that diagonal line, then above it, below it, above it, below it, above it. And the going backwards and down is us just going back. And if you actually if you actually draw it out on a graph, you'll see that when you're at your lowest of your new circle, you're still higher than your lowest past circle. and then you go and you get really good, and then it goes again because you're constantly creating and finding new things that are hard.
You know what? I reckon all those circles are still bigger than my head.
Now we get on to why you see your head is small all the time, because it's the same thing as when you buy a new car. You see them everywhere. You're like, hey, wait a second, all those cars weren't there weren't that many of my car out there before.
Mm.
It's because it's what you focus on, it's what you get. And so it's the same thing, with your small head, which I didn't even notice, and I still don't notice because you're just a small human, anyways. Everybody's a small human compared to me. I'm 6'6".
No, I think it is true. The more progress, life, like everything is not linear, and you're always going to plant seeds and recognize that some crops like don't grow as quick, or some crops totally fail, or you think you've planted like basil and out comes thyme. Like, there's so many factors that go into play. And like, as far as my self-love journey goes, it's funny because I had thought that I had moved on from aesthetics. I thought that with my experience of having horrendous self-esteem, of having like destructive eating disorders, I thought that like body image wise, we were good. And then something comes up and it's like, who on earth would pick that apart except for me? But the proximity of me to me means I notice everything.
Yeah.
Right?
And you're the hardest on yourself. Everybody is the hardest on themselves. Nobody else can be harder on themselves than yourself.
But I started moving on to things like, oh, am I funny enough? Or am I, like judging like character traits and personality, and like, am I progressing? Am I like a worthwhile coach? Do I have something to bring to the world? Slightly bigger questions than like, do my thighs touch?
My thighs touch. They had chafing today.
There you go. And like, to be fair, I mean, that's a whole like,
I like that my thighs touch. It means that my quads are getting bigger.
Yeah, and you can save snacks when they fall.
Yeah, yes, very true, very true. But if we go into that, I'll give you my one. My one, look, you've met me in person. Would you call me a small human? Not tall wise, but small as in like,
No.
wise.
No.
Like that.
You're like a wall of a human.
A wall of a human. Okay, I still see myself as small.
Yeah.
Because if you go back and you find photos of me, like I've got one that I can show you. Actually, I'll find it here, and if you're watching the video, you can see it. But my nickname when I first met my wife was Skinnies. That's what they called me. I actually had, up until I moved house into my new house, I had a T-shirt that was embroidered from my wife's sister that said Skinnies on it. Because I was so thin.
Oh yeah. I mean, I don't think you look skinny there. For everyone that's not watching the video, he just showed me how old is that photo?
That was 2009. It was 11 years.
Wow.
So I was 72 kilos. I'm now 98.
Yeah. Okay.
So I still sometimes.
Big boy.
Yeah, sometimes I still see myself at 72 kilos.
Yeah. No, I get that.
Because that self-image thing. And, like the other day, we were sitting there, and like obviously with this isolation, I'm not lifting weights like I was, and I'm for a few days I wasn't training very well, so I didn't have that pump which you normally have if you're going to the gym all the time, and yeah, that staunch one, especially when you're lifting heavy weights like I like to.
I got the pump.
But she goes,
I got enough pump for both of us. It's fine.
Okay, cool, perfect. You got the Arnold pump. So she goes, your arms are getting small. And that's all I could see for like 3 days. I was like, what the fuck? And then I was doing a workout. I was like, they're back again. And then I looked at them again after a couple of days of not doing pull-ups or something. And I was like, oh, actually, no, they're not that small. She's just talking shit. But it's, again, you see what you want to see. Like, if you want to see that you're small, you'll be small. If you want to see that you're a big, staunch human, you'll be a big, staunch human. I know some of the ladies that I worked with in the police, they would have been, because how tall are you, Savannah?
5'2".
You're 5'2". Yeah, I've worked with somebody that was about 5'1", 5'2", about your build, pretty small, petite. And I remember seeing her at college, and I was like, all of us were on our like protection course, and all of us were like, what the fuck? Why are they hiring marry somebody so fucking small. What the hell is she gonna do? And then I ended up back on front line, and she ended up coming to our section, like working on the team that we were on. I was like, fuck. And I ended up working with her. She is the biggest bulldog you will ever know. Like, she literally gets in there and she'll have like 6'6" guys like going, yes ma'am, yes ma'am. Like, I'm like, it just shows that it doesn't matter what your size is. Yes, you get into a fist fight, it makes a difference. But if you're a smart person, you don't get into fist fights, especially when you're a smaller person. So your size doesn't actually, what you see is not actually what you see is what you want to see.
Sometimes though, I feel as though, I mean, because there's a lot of people out there, like myself included, sometimes I look in the mirror and it's absolutely not what I want to see. Right? So it's like,
it's not what you want to see, but I bet you if you look actually to something within the last few days before then, that seed have been planted for you to see that.
Right. So it's not, so when you say want, we're not talking about like desire to see that thing. It's more.
No, but you can shift that because it's what you focus on.
Yeah.
You think about at the moment, for some reason you're focused on the fact that you have a small head. And I have to say, I'm gonna be straight up with you at the moment. Every time we talk about that, I think of, have you seen Beetlejuice, where it makes that guy's head really, 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 really small?
Maybe that's what happened to me.
you watch Beetlejuice.
maybe that's what's happened. Yeah.
Your head's not as small as that guy's head. Like, it's literally like a pin.
No, so just for context, for anyone listening, just before we hit record, he swapped his hat over, and I kind of like took a sip of tea, looked back, and there was a different hat on his head. And then we started talking about how he needs extra large hats, otherwise they like restrict his blood flow and he will die. And I struggle, on the other hand, to like, you know, fit things.
To find a hat that's small enough.
Yeah, so I think that
my wife's got the opposite problem. She has to wear the same hat size pretty much as me. Like, she struggles to find like actual like girls' hats that are like big enough.
Does that make you feel inferior?
No. Makes me go, okay, cool. I think we might have a new opportunity for, you know, making money.
I'm just playing.
Big hats for females.
So when it comes to self-esteem and body image, I think that, I mean, this is a fairly important topic, especially given just how out of routine people are and how different maybe diets and sleep patterns and just like health routines kind of are at the moment. It can be a super triggering time in isolation for people to be like, oh, I'm not going to the gym, I'm losing my gains, or
I'm going to put on weight because I'm not going to the gym. The gym has nothing to do with putting on weight.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that where we get into trouble here is because obviously exercise, nutrition, sleep, relationships, everything, like your well-being is important and it's important to move. However, I think there's a dangerous line that I've fallen into where your self-worth becomes attached to your I was going to say self-esteem, but I want to say more image, like the way that you look. So your self-worth is attached to the way that you look.
I think even, you know, just thinking about that right now, I think your self-image, your self-worth is based on your self-judgment. It's how you judge yourself. Because if you think about it, you portray it to your image, but really what you're doing by looking at yourself, if you look at yourself and go, oh, I don't look good, or like I used to do, oh, I'm too skinny, or oh, I'm too tall, or, you know, whatever it is, or oh, my head's too small, when it really, you know, actually, I never noticed it until you said it, and I still don't see it. So it's you're judging yourself all the time, and you're creating this image, or you know, even if it's this image of, am I good enough, or do I talk too much, or do I not talk enough, or what I have to say, is it worthy enough? All that is judging yourself in some way or another, is what I believe. What do you think?
I'm the queen of judging myself, hence my past. No, legitimately, I think that yeah, this is something that I'm super passionate about, because it's taken me a long time to realize. In fact, it's only been in the last few months that I've realized that while my physical appearance has been stable for a fairly long time, there was something that came up around New Year's, and that's realizing that my self-worth has always been attached to my body, and not just the way it looks, but also the way it performs. And so in a sense, I have prostituted myself out, in not just in a sexual context, but just in a, I can do this, so therefore I'm great, or I can do this, so therefore I deserve attention, or I can do this, therefore I'm deserving of love. Like if I can perform and if I can do something physically, which I think has really powered a lot of my career and my hobbies, and like a lot of my identity. And finding the balance in that, the first step was realizing that, hey, like I have done a lot of I've been your classic dance monkey. Like I have performed for people because that's how I learned from an early age that I could gain value. If I could be a top sports person, if I could bend in ways that other people can't bend, if I can stand on my head, if I can outrun the boys, if I can out push up, people, then there was something in there that was a token of validation. And what I've struggled with since coming to that realization is that, and I'm still trying to figure this out, is like, where's the line? Because those are things I actually do find joy in. I find that fun and it motivates me to be better. But where is the line between pushing to be better, being proud of what I can accomplish, actually getting joy from being a physical performer? I like being able to use my body in ways that is creative and functional and impressive. I actually do like that. But where does that meet having all my self-worth tied up in it and having my identity totally attached? Like if I was to become paralyzed tomorrow, what would I have left of my identity? Like who would I be? So finding that line has been a really interesting, it's a path I'm currently on.
Let me ask you this then, Savannah, is because I've done a lot of work on that and I'm really good at it now. Like I used to, if you ask anybody that was at police college with me, they would tell you probably that I didn't give a fuck what people thought of me. When really I cared everything about what people thought of me. And so now I really actually don't give a fuck. I will balance this line so I don't piss people off that I really care about. But if I don't know you, I don't give a fuck. Like I'll literally say the sky is green, and if I believe it, I believe it, and I don't give a fuck. I give a fuck, but I don't. Like I care about your feelings, but I also, I don't care what I look like. I don't care if I have a green shirt with bright purple pants and a fucked up rip tat. That's the kind of the stuff about me I don't give a fuck about.
No, but that's the point, is it's not about other people, actually. No, it never is.
No, it isn't. And so this is the thing. There's a few things that popped into my head when you were, telling us about, your stuff, is that first thing is, where did all that stem from? Second thing is, what was I going to say? Second thing is you cannot have from your past. So many people live in the past. So we recognize when something started, we can then go, oh, that's what's causing me to think that I need to look this certain way for somebody else, or do this certain thing for somebody else. Or this is why I'm acting the way that I am when I don't like that I'm acting this way. And it stems back to when something that happened normally when we're a kid. But then it's also going and recognizing that everything that happens is for a reason. Everything that happens has two sides, what we classify as a good side and a bad side, quote unquote. But really, they're all good, because you cannot have the good without the bad. I learned this at a Tony Robbins event. One of the first things he has you do is identify whose love you crave the most. And then you go to that, then you look at, okay, cool. Okay, for me, it was my dad. I craved my dad's love the most. I got my mom's all the time, but my dad at the age of like 4 went off to chiropractic school, and my mom tells me that I would cry myself to sleep every Sunday when he'd leave. And I craved his love the most. Still to this day, it's like if he says that I'm doing extremely fucking well, then it's like, oh yeah, cool, sweet. But I recognize it now. But also I recognize, and some people's is more ingrained than others, is that if he hadn't been as hard as he was, or that everything hadn't happened how it exactly did, I would not be where I'm standing right now.
Sure.
So you cannot have all the quote unquote bad without the quote unquote, you can't have the quote unquote good without the quote unquote bad.
Sure.
Because the bad empowers you to push you forward to strive for more of the good. And so that line, there is no line. It's gray. Because you have to have what you perceive as bad to bounce you back to where you want to develop. And then you go, and that's where that loop that I was talking about in the very beginning is. Because the quote unquote bad could be where you're going down and you feel depressed through whatever it is at the bottom of your loop. And then you're getting back. And then because of that, you strive to be at the top again. So you push yourself again. Now, where it gets bad is when you sit and you stay and you think that all that there is that bottom level, all the quote unquote bad. That's when you have to shift and go, well, okay, how is this actually helping me develop? How is this helping me to do what I love to do? How is this helping me to grow? How is this helping me to be where I actually want to be in the future? So that the past does not create your future, but the present creates what you want to get out of the future.
Sure. So in the context of me finding between self-worth and actual achievement.
What's actual achievement for you?
Being the best.
Being the best. Okay. Why do you want to
or being well, so I understand like where this all stems from. Like I understand where these patterns have evolved from. But my point was that yes, they exist. And yes, there's danger to having my self-worth tied to them. However, there's also a lot of joy that's found in them. So it's not like a pattern that I want to discard because it's something that still pushes me to be better.
Here's my thing, because I always talk about this as well. And I got it from Tony Robbins, but the language, why you said it's, what did you say exactly about, it's, well, in turn, it's a bad thing. It's having this other side is a bad thing, but then having this other side is, the good side. Why is there a good and a bad?
Oh, because I would argue that having your self-worth tied up in something so frivolous is bad. I would argue that there is good and bad in the world, and
but does it not drive you when you think about?
No, it doesn't. The joy drives me. It's the joy. It's not the having low. Like if I fail at something and I feel shit about myself, hell no, is that something that I think is good. I don't want those feelings. It's the joy that.
No, we all drive to joy, but why not? So this is where I look at things differently, because I go, okay, yes, I do not like to fail at things, quote unquote, but I don't I've changed my language around what fail means. Mm-hmm. Failing is only if I don't grow from it. Yeah. Failing is only if I don't learn from it.
We're talking about the layer below that, though. I'm not just talking I'm happy to fail. I'm talking about having my self-worth tied up in that.
No, my self-worth's tied up in failing or being judged. Full on, 100%. If I fail at something, I remember when I got told that you are not allowed to apply for AOS again. It fucked me up for weeks, months. But if I look back on it, if I actually looked at it as a learning experience and I go, okay, this is happening for a reason right now. And it did. It meant that I needed to get into my protection. I could meet new people. I could learn new things. And I could actually get skills that are much better for life than doing armed defender.
But if the argument's around self-worth, how do you feel about yourself? Not what did you achieve.
Oh, now I feel great about myself. I feel great about myself, anything that I do. Like if I have a shit month, I still feel like, okay, cool, yeah, sweet. What do I need to learn from that month so that, because my self-worth isn't tied up with, it is tied up with it, but at the same time, it's like, okay, I'm learning from it. I'm in a place of my self-worth. I've shifted my self-worth from caring all the time about the things and what's happening and pass or fail to learning and growing. Because if you're growing, then it actually is never a detriment, because anything that happens is happening for you, not to you.
So that's the nugget. It's not in having your self-worth tied to performing. It's having your self-worth tied to being a resilient, adaptable, flexible person. So that's the shift.
Yeah, it must be, yeah. And the way to do that is just to start focus on it and identify it every time it comes up.
Mm.
And in the beginning, it's fucking hard. It's going, oh my God, you want me to do what? This is who I am. And I want to perform. I always want to be the best. You ask anybody around, it's like, yeah, competition is on. But if I don't win, I don't die about it. Because it's like, okay, cool. What could I have done different? What could I have done differently? What can I learn from this situation? How can I come back stronger? Is that what you do, or do you still have it tied up in that I have to perform the best?
Well, it's not about competing with other people. It's about being my best. It's about being impressive physically. So I think that will always be a little, that's part of the wolf that like I choose not to feed, you know? I don't think I'll ever fully get rid of
You never will.
that desire, but yeah, like you say, it's just awareness around it.
Yeah, so it's awareness and shifting that focus from going nuts, fuck off, go away, to okay, cool, what are you saying? Why are you saying that?
Mm.
I love you ask any of my clients, and they will say, Chris loves to ask why.
Mm.
Because, and the thing that I've found over, especially the last couple of years, is when you ask why, and then you ask what you can do. So you ask yourself, why is this going on? Why are these voices coming up? Why have I got so much identity tied into this one thing? You can then answer it. If you're answering it honestly, you'll actually dig into layers of yourself where you're like, oh, that's why. And then you can decide, at that point, you can make a decision. Do I want to keep running with that why? Or do I want to figure out what I can do to make this empowering for me?
Mm-hmm.
Instead of it constantly coming back up the same exact way.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like why your head's small.
Yeah. And for the record, I'm not like that self-conscious about it. We've made a huge deal of this. But honestly,
it's just to make up, because everybody has it. You know, somebody will be, like I said, mine was being skinny. And it still comes up at times. I want to be fucking nasty. Sometimes I go to my wife, I want to have Ronnie Coleman legs. And she's like, fuck off, you're not having Ronnie Coleman legs.
Yeah, well, I'm not cut up about the fact I have a small head. I think it's amusing, if anything. I think it's just more something that I don't have low self-esteem about it. Like I say, I'm just like conscious of it suddenly because
you're thinking about it.
Well, I think it's just because I've noticed I've been in a lot of photos with a lot of people, and I'm like, man, okay, that's
because you're looking
a cute little round small bubble.
But if you're looking at it, you're looking for it. Subconsciously, you're looking for it.
No, my point is that I'm not cut up about it. Like, it's not a low self-esteem thing. It's just, anyway, moving on. What is one of the things you wanted to pick my brain about?
Why running? Why do you run? Because this morning you went to me, and you know, this is another good thing to tell people is you got to take care of yourself. This morning, I text you at like, I think it was like 8:30 or something. And I was like, hey, are we still on for 9 o'clock? And you're like, no, I just woke up. I was asleep. I was like, cool, awesome. Authenticity going, yep, sweet, telling me the truth. Then you were like, and I was like, okay, cool. You're like, I need to go for a run as well. I need to take the dog for a run. Otherwise I just cannot people. And I was like, okay, cool, sweet, go for it. I was like, we'll do 10 o'clock. And that's a really good thing because you're taking care of yourself, but why running?
I have a dog who requires running.
Mm-hmm.
Second, it's a habit. I've been running for over 10 years now. I run. That's what I do. Yeah, I think once you're a runner, you know about the highs. Like, you know about, it's just become a form of it's just a part of my like routine. And that doesn't mean I run every day, but it's just something that is easy, quick, does the trick, wakes me up, looks after my dog, gets me outside, especially at the moment, you know, run the beach. So I don't know. I think it's just like the cheapest, most functional form of exercise that works for me.
And what do you love about running?
What I love about it? Depends on the day. Depends on the day.
When it comes up.
I mean, today I loved having open, wide spaces to myself. Like, there's something about the freedom of just going where your feet take you and having no one else around. It's like a freeing feeling, because I know a lot of people at the moment, particularly, are really feeling cooped up. And I know that my feet can take me a long way. So there's just a freedom in that.
What do you focus on when you're running?
Oh, it depends. Sometimes it's making sure that my dog doesn't run away. Sometimes it's making sure that I don't run away. Sometimes it's just the audiobook or the music I'm listening to. Yeah.
Okay. And how do you get through those, like when you're running, because when we're running, we get to those times where our body, especially if we're pushing ourselves any kind of hardness at all, we get to those times where we're like, fuck, I just want to stop. How do you get yourself through those?
So it depends. It depends on whether I do actually need to stop, because so yesterday, not last night, the night before, I drank an entire bottle of wine by myself. And that was great. At 3 a.m. I woke up and the world was going one way, my head was going the other. But by the time I fully woke up at about 8:30, I felt amazing again. And I had been running, because we're in isolation, I'm running a lot more because I have nowhere else to be, nowhere else to go. I felt fatigued. So I managed to get through the majority of my run, but giving myself the grace to walk a bit if I need to, totally fine. And I live in a really hilly area, so my quads can get pretty fatigued. So yeah, yesterday that actually happened, but I was aware that I was fatigued and I wasn't just being a pussy about it. If though I am just being soft and I'm just choosing to like not do the thing, which is very rare, I gotta say, then I just head down, change up my playlist, put on like the Black Keys or something, like put on something that pumps me up and just keep going. Sometimes something simple like changing up the pace, like actually sprinting. In a moment where I want to slow down, I'll pick up the pace, and that will actually help pattern interrupt and get me back in the game.
Yeah.
So something like that will help.
Yeah. What goes through your head in that exact moment?
Stop being soft, run. Pick up your legs. They are small. There's not much to lift. I'm into like tough love, so that's pretty much what goes through my head. But I think though that if other people come across those blocks, like there needs to be, because you get that in any form of exercise, is am I not wanting to do this because I am tired and I'm feeling a bit sick, or I'm not, and as women particularly, there are definitely phases throughout the month where we are actually stronger, we have more energy, and then we don't. So it's like, okay, am I just being a bit lazy, or do I actually just need to maybe chill for 100 meters and then pick it back up?
Yep. Shifting that focus,
Yeah, but like giving yourself a bit of compassion too, because I mean, if you think that you just have to be go, go, go all the time, like look back, you may have not eaten much, or you may have like eaten poorly the day before, your sleep could have been crap, you could have a lot going on in your mind, and that, I think, requires a little bit of introspection to just go, hey, is this going to fuel me? Like, is this thing that's going on in my life, or is this poor sleep, like, is this a good time to push through the barrier, or is it a good time to be like, you know what, you've done really well the last week, and maybe today it's just a smaller run, or maybe you walk, or maybe you just back off a little, so you can come back tomorrow and kill it.
That's the biggest thing. It's accepting that what's happening right now is meant to be happening right now, and not beating yourself up about the fact that, oh, I need to walk today, or I need to take it a little bit easier. I need to actually slow my pace down to a slower pace instead of being at my fast pace today, even though maybe it's a quote unquote test day for you or something like that. It's actually acknowledging yourself and your body and listening to you and going, okay, yeah, today's not going to be, I'm not going to make a personal best today, but it's going to be a personal best for me today. And I'm going to learn from it. And I'm going to go, okay, cool. I'm listening to myself today.
Well, I always say that the you that's giving it a go is lapping the you that's on the couch. So anything, right, is better than nothing. However, sometimes, and I think that this is what has really concerned me about being in isolation and everyone worried about home workouts and everyone really panicking about how they're going to keep fit. There's a lot of HIIT workouts going around at the moment. And the reason that HIIT workouts are effective is because you do them 2 to 3 times a week, because there's ample rest. It is interval training. And the same goes for running. The same goes for weightlifting. You have to recover in order for your muscles to build up again. You don't get the results by constantly pummeling the muscles. They actually, from a very basic physiological standpoint, the reason your workouts hurt is because your muscles are breaking. And then what happens is you rest and they form stronger and sexier. And then you get results. Whereas if you're constantly hammering your muscles, they never have time to recover and you never get the results you actually want. You actually put yourself so far back. And HIIT workouts at the moment are kind of getting on my nerves because people like who just don't know any better, because coaches and trainers aren't saying or aren't prefacing the workout by saying, hey, make sure you do this 2-3 times a week max. Give yourself enough rest, because if you're able to do push-ups on your toes normally and you're coming back tomorrow, you're doing another workout similar to this, and you're so sore that you have to do your push-ups on your knees, that's a good sign you have not rested enough. And you have to rest in order for it to be effective.
It's kind of like a real simple way to put it is, think about a time where you didn't sleep well for a week. And then think about a time where you didn't sleep well maybe only 2 days in that week. How do you feel?
So
What's
true.
the difference between how you feel? It's the same exact thing, and we have to rip the muscles apart so that they come back stronger. But yeah, I'm the same way. I'm like, this is the thing that frustrates me with training people to get into the police. People come to me and they go, oh yeah, I'm running 2.4 kilometers every single day. Like, okay. I'm glad that if you're watching the video, just the man is shaking her head going, no. And the thing is that I know so many coaches that actually prescribe that. They'll prescribe somebody to run every single day. And, as my training goes on and as you go through my 12-week training, you do end up running 4 days a week at one stage. But again, they're different types of runs. So you can, if you're at a place where you run a lot, like you and I run a lot, you could run every single day if you wanted to. I'd recommend more like 5 days a week instead of 7, but you could, if you wanted to, you could run, but you'd be changing it up in a way. You'd be doing a really slow jog. You'd be doing, a really, a long distance. You'd be doing some sprints. You'd be doing, that kind of thing. But again, still even 7 days a week is way too much.
Well, so this is where that goal comes. Like if your goal is to get into the police force, you're training for something in particular, you're running a certain distance for a certain reason. Running is incredibly functional. As human beings, we are supposed to move. So if anyone's listening and going, this sounds like contradictory advice, it's not. It's about having common sense. It's about actually resting. Like, that's not to say don't move, sit on your ass all day and eat Cheetos. It's saying, like, you shouldn't be pummeling and going, oh, I need to run 2.4Ks because that's what my test goal is every single day. It's going, okay, I've done my run. I feel like I could make it up. So I'm going to come back in another couple of days. So like the next day, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do some calisthenics, or I'm going to do some, I'm going to go for a walk. Like, I'm going to stretch. I'm going to spend an hour stretching and foam rolling and mobilizing my body, because we are supposed to move. But when you have a specific goal, like you want bigger arms, fucking give your arms a break.
They're not going to get bigger if you work them every single day. They'll actually
Trash them, and then love them, and then trash them again.
It's the same thing that we have to do with our mental health. Like it's the same thing we talked about in the very beginning of this episode. Is you've got to look after yourself, and you got to look after your mental health. You got to challenge it. And at those, and this is where I was kind of talking about, is at those hardest times is when you're actually challenging yourself the most, so you can come back and you can have those good times or even a higher high. So then the bad times, quote unquote bad times, are actually higher than the last bad times. And so in turn, in a year, like I look back to myself this time last year and I go, who the fuck was that guy? The hardest things that could have been the hardest things ever, I do every single day now. And then I don't even blink about them. They just carry on. And it's the same thing in, your mental health, your physical health, your relationships, anything. It's the same exact thing. As long as you're still growing and working on them, you still move up.
Showing up. It's consistency.
Yeah, it's consistency. It's more important to show up and do it than it is than anything else.
And that's where, going back to your question about what happens when you hit the wall during your runs. Well, I'm consistent enough to know that if I do take a day to like run, jog, or just walk, I'm not putting myself back at all. In fact, I'm actually giving myself the break that's needed to create more bandwidth. And that's actually something that does come with consistency too.
And practice and mental training. Because if I know so many people, I have even so many clients that constantly, especially when they first start with me, and I'm sure you have the same thing with your clients, when they first start, it's like, oh, I wasn't able to run that full 5Ks nonstop. And it's like, but I was able to do it last week, or, I'm 10 seconds slower than I was last week. I'm like, and what did you gain out of it? What did you learn from it? Oh, this, and this. You have not failed.
You're still one run closer to getting fitter and faster.
You're still not sitting on the couch eating Doritos.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll take my 10 seconds slower run over the run I didn't do.
Yeah. It's like me today. What did I run mine? Like I ran 5-something Ks today, and it felt like so slow. But if I actually look at it, it's actually faster than when I run with my training partner, because she runs slower than me. So in turn, I still ran pretty fucking fast. I did 5.49 Ks, so 5.5 Ks in 29 minutes and 52 seconds. So it was at a 5:26 pace.
Nice.
Which actually, if I actually look at it properly, that's actually pretty fucking quick, even normally. So, you can get so hung up. Like when I first looked at it, I was like, oh, fuck, that was so slow, because of the pains that I went through the run. But if you actually go and you jump back and you look from the outside perspective, and this goes for everything, look at the outside perspective, you can actually go, oh, fuck, I actually did quite well on that run. Because I went through this, and this. And actually, my run is actually fairly quick. So it's the same thing on life with your mental health stuff. It's the same thing on what you're focusing on. It's like, oh, okay, cool. I'm focusing on this right now. Why?
Yeah.
There's my why question. I love that why question. So what do you have for everybody else? What do you have for everybody that's listening on this episode?
Well, I feel as though we've been going for a while now.
Yeah.
I feel like we covered some good stuff, some body image, some training suggestions. I think that, yeah, fairly important. And if you're watching this, don't judge my head. Keep your judgment.
Actually, to be honest, looking at you right now, your head looks quite big.
Right. I've been working on it.
I mean, look at it. My head actually looks smaller than your head looks.
I wasn't gonna say anything.
Yeah, I mean, look at it. It's small, and I got really fucking bad hair because I need a haircut so bad, but I can't get one.
Well, should we wrap this up by saying what we're grateful for then?
Yeah. The first thing I want to say though is on that body image stuff. If you're a skinny person, you want to be bigger. If you're a bigger person, you want to be skinnier. be happy within yourself, because that's where it all starts. Finding the way to be happy within yourself. You know, there's some, you know, what the world classifies as overweight actresses and stuff like that are completely 100% happy with themselves. You can be happy with who you are. You don't have to be ripped with a six pack and, you know, be able to bench press 200 kilos and all this kind of stuff to be happy. It's all superficial stuff. You don't have to you don't have to drive the Maserati to be happy. In fact, I'm sure most of the people that drive Maseratis actually aren't happy. They've got lots of money, but money doesn't make you happy. Same thing. Focus on what you want, not what everybody else is saying.
Yeah. And you can be happy right now.
Yeah, right now. It's a shift of what it's the question that you ask yourself. I wanted to get into that, but I guess we're running kind of out of time. But it's the question that you ask yourself. When somebody looks at you, what do you ask yourself? What are you asking yourself? Because they're not asking you anything when they look at you. What are you asking yourself? I used to ask myself, are people judging me? That used to be the question that went through my head a million times a day. And as soon as I shifted that, I learned this again at Tony Robbins. As soon as I shift, and he takes you through a thing on how to change it. But as soon as I shifted that question to how am I helping myself and others be the best versions of ourselves right now? Shit, none of it matters. I could be the craziest motherfucker doing my little goofy arm thing. And yeah, there it is, the goofy arm. It has to come back all the time. But by me being silly, that's what I focus on now. And that's the question I ask myself all the time is when somebody looks at me and I'm doing something fucking what I would classify as crazy, I'm like, sweet, I'm helping that person because they're looking at me going, fuck, that guy's crazy. Maybe I want to be crazy. And that's what I focus on. So it's the same thing with your body image. What you focus on is what you're going to see.
Totally.
So, what are you grateful for, Savannah?
Grateful for my body.
Perfect.
Grateful for wide open spaces this morning. And I am really grateful that I'm grateful that this might sound super basic, but I'm so grateful that I have fresh water anytime I want, and it comes in hot and cold, and I have no lack of it, because that is such a minor point that we take for granted, and I'm pretty grateful for that. Fresh water.
I'm grateful for a bed that I don't have to sleep on the ground, because I've had to sleep on the ground before, and my bed is, even though I need a new bed, my bed is still very comfortable. I don't know why that popped in my head, but I'm grateful for my bed. Grateful for opportunities and past experiences, so I can be right where I am right now. And also, I'm grateful for cold water. I like cold water because I have a cold ending to my shower every single time I have a shower. And I do that because it works for my mind. That whole mental thing. I can either focus on the fact that it's holy shit, it's cold, or I can focus on the fact that, oh my god, this is making blood flow through my body that hasn't flowed to places. Yeah. So those would be the things I'm grateful for. And I'm grateful for my puppies for waking me up every morning.
Wicked. Who wouldn't be grateful? They're so cute.
Yeah, they are. They are. So is yours.
Yeah.
You know, I met him once.
He is. Thanks for listening, everyone. I hope that you took a lot or something out of this, and don't forget to do all the things to support us. It really helps if you drop us a message or leave a comment or subscribe or leave a review. All of those things really help.
They do, very much so. And remember, every week we do some sort of chat about some sort of stuff. And yeah, we try and help you guys learn something new from what we're going through or seeing or experiencing or just talking about.
Sweet. Thanks, Chris. Peace, guys.